Liz.
Hello, lovelies.
How are you?
Yeah,
for
I'm all right.
ages.
Yes.
What have you been up to?
Not much. Just been with family. I've been living with my parents for a few months.
How's that going?
Nice. They watch TV at 9 o'clock, so I often do like joining in with them. But yeah, I'm back in my flat for a night, and it's my first night alone.
Okay. Oh.
So I'm a bit like, ooh.
Oh.
Just because it's change, you know. So, but I'm okay. How are you?
Well, good, thank you. Keeping cozy with blankets like you. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I was so thrilled to return to this blanket because it's the softest blanket I own, and I was like, oh, get back my soft one. How is your blanket?
It's good, thanks. So my sister got it for Christmas. It's quite sweet.
Oh, well, that's a great present.
It is, yeah. So we had a lovely weekend out actually. Walking around the parks of Didsbury, and then a proper portion of fat chips as well, like that. Proper grr chips.
Oh, so good.
Curry sauce as well. Dunking. It's good.
That sounds grand.
It was good, yeah. So the weather's been really nice here. So the past couple of weeks, it's been quite sunny. It's just been nice to get outside. Yeah,
I did that.
Have you done much outdoor stuff?
Yeah, the same. So we went on a walk with my brother for his first time seeing us was Christmas.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that was he turned 28 on Friday.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
But yeah, he took us for a walk up where he lives in Kent.
Yeah.
Really rural, but like stunning views. Just
Yeah.
It's just so nice. It's sunny. Also.
Oh, that's
yeah. Sweet. Bloody cold though. Like.
Yeah. Oh, so did you play any games with him on his 28th?
No. His yeah, he just had like a quiet night with his wife on his actual birthday. And we sang to him, we gave him cake. Hey Bracken.
Cake's good.
Hey Ariane.
Hi. Hey Katie. Oh, we've got an Ariane as well.
And a Katie.
Hey, beautiful humans.
Hey. Right. We're just talking about cake. What cake did you have, Liz?
Cake?
Cake, Victoria sponge. It's so great. My dad has got a new cake like mixing thing. And his first cake did not meet standard, so he baked a second cake immediately. So he had 2 Victoria sponges, one to give away that met standard, which we got then the reject. And I was like, oh no, you'll have to bake another one so we can hit the reject. So loving the perfectionist tendencies of my dad in the cake arena. It's great. Hey Rory.
Hey.
How was Jolene?
It was kind of a bust actually. We didn't have the numbers, but hung out and had a perfectly nice chat regardless.
Yeah. Nice. I'm sorry to have missed it, and I'm sorry the numbers weren't there.
Oh, no worries. These things happen.
Yep. Catch up time sounds nice though.
We can do it again sometime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we still got book on poetry on at the end of the month to like torment you folks with.
That is the role here, tormenting.
It's very close to Rory's birthday, so
you have to put up with my bullshit.
Does that mean we can write you awful birthday poems?
Yes. Please do awful birthday poems for Rory. If you've been worrying about whether or not you can put something out into story time like I have, like poetry time like I have, then maybe this is a great opportunity to get started with just like writing some terrible fucking poetry.
R is for the way you roar at me. O is for the only I see at you.
Those are my favorite AFI lyrics, yeah.
Oh no. If I were of a higher quality than that, fuck you. I will fight you.
How dare you say that about my beautiful poetry, Bracken?
I'm sorry, AFI. I really liked AFI, okay?
Oh my god, that's okay. AFI were great. I can't say anything. They're like one of the few bands I have bought iTunes albums of.
Hey Frankie, I can see you've got a clip on that curl. That curl's not going anywhere tonight.
It's not. It's restrained. It's restrained. I've got it fully locked down. Hi. How are y'all doing tonight?
Great.
Lyric
your
and I
weekend?
had a meeting about the Storytime book, and it now has sections.
Yeah.
What sections do we have?
You say.
You can
Are they
tell them,
surprise,
Lyric, if
Katie?
you want.
Then I have to find them again. We have love. We have dancing. We have friendship. We have silliness. We have adventure and growth. And we have some stuff around like lockdown, longing, and pain type shit all smushed together.
That sounds very, very exciting.
Saucy section. Holy shit, y'all. Just holy shit, that saucy section.
We've got a Liz.
Hi, hello.
Liz. Hi,
Hi,
friend.
Hi, darling one.
How are you doing, Peanut?
I'm okay. I have ventured out of my parental home, so I am on my own for my first night in months and a bit in my flat. So I'm here and I can join, which is very nice. Yeah.
Ooh, it's nice to see you.
Very, very nice to be back. Very, very glad to have this and also to see all your lovely faces. Yeah, I have a really beautiful contrast on my screen at the moment between Frankie's lighting and Lyric's lighting, and it's just a divine like color contrast going on right now. Well done, the internet.
See, they're exciting.
Yeah, like
Actually, Frankie's lighting matches the cover of a book I bought yesterday. That is right next to me. I bought books. This is the one that matches Frankie's screen to me.
Oh,
What the
pretty.
butterflies rules.
Yeah, Bracken mentioned that they got it for you. It's so good. I got 30 pages in and was like, I've cried so many times. And then I picked this up because the cover was pretty, opened it and was like, well, there are 2 poems I needed to read right now. So I bought it because that's how poetry works.
I applaud all of this. All of this. Hi, Tal. Hi, Tal. Who else have we got? Hi, Evan. Hi, Duncan.
Hey, sorry, I was on mute.
All right, Mella. Hi, Ariane. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Lyric. Who else have we got? Bracken and Rory. Hi, Bracken and Rory. We've got a Bina. Hi, Bina. Hey, Zach. We got Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi, Nick and Katie. Hello, everybody.
How are you, Frankie? What fun things have you been up to? Oh dear.
I'm good. I'm still a bit knackered.
Oh, bless you.
I had a fun, sparkly, fully legal time on Saturday, which was
yes.
very lovely.
Yes.
But I was goddamn exhausted afterwards.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I think the tiredness has slightly bleached over into today. So fortunately, I've also had today off to recover because I'm an old lady and I can't party hard like I used to. No more. But other than that, it's very good. Have we got an Ash? Have we got an Ash?
Ash and Elisa.
Ash and Elisa. Oh, hi, sweeties.
Hello.
Hey.
Now, what time is it? How are we doing for time?
What are we doing for time?
1 minute.
1 minute. Oh, goddamn loads of time.
A quick hi to Carmen and her very curly hair.
Ooh. You got smooth hair on.
Ooh, those are some good curls.
Those are some excellent curls. Carmen, that's a strong, good curl game.
I just showered.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, we've got Ian. Hi, Ian. And we've got Christine. Hi, Christine. Hi, Andy. Hello.
It's story time.
Is it story time, Katie? Okay, everybody. It's story time. The story is time. Now, 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 now. If you remember, we left our intrepid gang on Pascal's boat. Monty has been a little bit of a dick. Hopefully he realizes that now. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Pascal finds Felicity and me for breakfast, a blissfully full and not thieved meal, satisfying in spite of the fact that it contains a fair amount more rice and beans than I'm generally inclined to. We eat crouched on the deck of the canal boat around a smoking iron stove, tin plates cupped between our hands and no utensils but bread. The fare, Pascal tells us, is a travelling one. The merchants load their tents into boats and float up and down the Rhone, stopping in towns they've come to and mixing with the local tradesmen until they've recruited enough to set up stalls. As the dawn breaks, muddy and pink across the water, women spread laundry along the rails and jump between the decks to speak to each other. Children run along the banks. Men play cards and smoke pipes, the gauzy threads that rise from their lips mingling with the early morning mist off the water. They seem complete unto themselves, a small floating kingdom along the fringes of the sea, and, remarkably, ordinary to themselves. Perhaps this is what the grand tour is meant to do. Show me the way other people live, in lives that are not like my own. It's a strange feeling, realizing that other people you don't know have their own full lives that don't touch yours. I try to watch without staring until Felicity kicks me. You didn't look at them like they're on display. I'm interested. You're gawking. Monty, we're guests. Pascal slides a piece of bread around the rim of his plate, 2 fingers propping the crust. You should take some food to Mr. Newton. I don't think he'll eat, Felicity replies. I tried earlier, but he couldn't keep anything down. Pascal chews for a moment, looking to the cabin where Percy's lying, then says, Where is it you come from? England, I reply. We're touring. You seem to be running. Well, that's what we're currently doing, but we were once touring. The men you were running from, are they travelling with you? No, they attacked us on the road from Paris. We think they're looking for... I glance at Felicity. She gives me a little shrug, as if to say, why not? I pull the puzzle box out of my pocket and hand it to Pascal. We think they're after this. He turns it over in his hands, spinning the dials a few times. A box. That's the extent of what we know about it. Why do they want it? We don't know, Felicity says, and we're afraid if we hand it over, we'll be killed for taking it. So you stole it? Yes, but not from them. Then I remember the highwayman was the Duke from Versailles, in whose apartments I was caught with a bare-breasted French girl. Perhaps sort of from them. It looks quite old. He hands the puzzle box back to me and I stash it in my coat. There are 2 women who travel in our company who made their living in antiques. They deal mostly in trinkets now, little things that sell at carnivals. But they may know something about it, if you let me show them. I look over at Felicity like we might consult on this, but she says, yes, absolutely. If they could tell us anything, that would be so appreciated. They may be at the fair already. I'll see if I can fetch them. Stay here. As Pascal picks his way across the deck, I murmur to Felicity, you think this is a good idea? I think I'd like to know why we're being hunted, she says, and what we can do to stop it. She pokes at the pocket of my coat harbouring the puzzle box. This is your fault, Henry. At least try to fix things. I would very much like to punch her in the nose for saying that, even though she's right. Pascal returns half an hour later with a woman on each arm, both old and bent and dressed head to toe in black, complete with thick veils like they're in mourning. He climbs onto the boat first, then helps them each across. Felicity and I both stand. Señoritas Ernesta Herrera, he inclines towards the taller of the two, y Eva Davila. They are the grandmothers to our company. He smiles fondly at the two when he says it. I told them about your situation and they believe they might be able to help. I start to pull the puzzle box out of my pocket, but the taller woman's hand, Ernesta's, shoots out much faster than her pace led me to believe it was capable of, and closes around my wrist. Not here, she hisses in accented French. Why not here? If people are after it, she says, do not wave it around. We follow the grandmothers into the cabin of the boat. Ernesta laughs softly when she sees Percy in bed and says over her shoulder to Pascal, You have a menagerie of these unfortunates, mijo. As we shuffle in, I try to look anywhere but at Percy, but that's a bit of a trick in a room that's barely 8 feet square. I do manage to do it only out of the corner of my eye, not straight on, which is a bit coyer and conveys that I'm still mad as hell at him. He looks well pathetic, curled up on his side, face turned to the pillow as pale sunlight wafts through the cabin door. His hair is matted on one side where he's been lying on it, and his skin looks slick and waxy. But I refuse to be moved. Pascal stays out on deck, while Ernesta and Eva settle themselves on cushions tossed across the floor. Felicity perches on the end of the box bed and says something to Percy, too quietly for me to hear. He shakes his head, face turned away from hers. There's nowhere else to sit unless I want to cuddle up with Percy, so I stand sort of awkwardly in the centre of it all, trying to get my sea legs and not knock my head on the hanging lamps. Could we perhaps speak elsewhere? Felicity says. But Percy opens his eyes and pushes himself up on an elbow. The neck of his shirt slips down over his shoulder, revealing the sharp course of his collarbone. No, I want to hear this. Ernesta holds out a hand to me. Let us see. I surrender the puzzle box. She turns it over in her hands, then passes it to Eva. You have stolen this. Felicity and Percy both look at me, and there's no point denying it, so I nod. You must return it. The men I took it from are trying to kill us, I say. Not to them. She waves a hand. It does not belong to them. How do you know? This is a Baseggio puzzle box. They are expensive and rare, and they are not used to hold things of worldly value like money or jewelry or the wants of common thieves. She spins one of the dials with the tip of her finger. It makes a soft ticking sound like a clock winding. These boxes were designed to carry alchemical compounds over long distances and keep them safe if stolen. Eva taps the end of the box and says something in a language I don't understand. Ernesta translates. The name of the owner is carved here on the rim. She holds it up and points to the thin band of enameling along the hinge, inscribed with gold letters that I hadn't noticed before. Professor Mateo Robles. I know him, Felicity says. Then she adds, when we all look at her, not personally. I attended a lecture on his work in Paris. He studies panaceas. What's a panacea? Percy asks. A cure-all, Felicity explains. An item or a compound that is a remedy for multiple ailments, like a bezoar or ginseng. Robles is well known in Spain, Ernesta says. One of the last great alchemists in the court before the crown changed hands, though of late better known for killing his wife. Felicity lets out a small squeak at that. He killed his wife, Percy says hoarsely. An experiment gone wrong, Ernesta says. An accident, but she died by his hand all the same. But the box didn't come from Mateo Robles, I say. I stole it from the King of France. You stole it from the Duke of Bourbon, Felicity corrects, though the detail seems a bit irrelevant. I think she just enjoys rubbing it in that I'm a thief. He's the one who's after us. What's in it? Percy asks. He's sitting up now, arms folded around his knees and leaning forward for a better look, like the box has changed since last he held it. Something with alchemical properties, most likely, which makes it valuable, Ernesta replies. Or dangerous. Or both. She shakes the box lightly beside her ear, like it might announce its own name. Not a compound, though. It sounds to be a single item. Couldn't someone break the box open? Felicity asks. It doesn't look very sturdy. The boxes are often lined with vials of acid or some other corrosive substance. If the box is broken, the object inside is destroyed. Ava says something, and Ernesta nods. She says that it must be returned to its owner. And then they both look at me. By who? I ask. Us. You are the thieves. Monty's the thief, Felicity says. No, I am the second thief, which I think cancels out my thievery. This box carries cargo likely more precious than you can imagine. It must be returned to Mateo Robles. Then you take it. You know more about it than we do. Ernesta shakes her head. We have been expelled from Spain. We indulge in practices outlawed by the crown, and we cannot return without consequences. You're Spanish? I could feel Felicity resisting the urge to roll her eyes. She's practically vibrating with the effort. Ernesta, for her part, does not roll her eyes at me. We're Catalonian, she says. I'm not sure of the distinction, but for fear of outright mockery from my sister, I move forward like that makes sense. And you think this professor is in Spain? The Robleses are an old Catalonian family. They were in this court at the same time as we were, but they were expelled when the House of Bourbon won the throne, and they returned to Barcelona. And you wanted us to take it to them there? I ask. Absolutely not, Felicity interrupts, shaking her head so vehemently her plaque whips the bedpost behind her. I'm sorry, but we can't. We need to find our company and see that this is returned to the King of France. It doesn't belong to him, Ernesta says. It must be returned to the professor alone. No one but him. But surely there's a reason the king had it, Felicity argues. And we can't travel. We've no money and our Cicerone is waiting for us here and Percy's been taken ill. We can't go anywhere if he's unwell. Percy stares down at the quilts, tugging at a loose thread between the patches. And for a moment I think he'll protest, but he keeps silent. Felicity opens her mouth, like she's got more reasons we can't ferry alchemical compounds south queued up. But she's interrupted by a sharp rap at the cabin door, followed by Pascal flinging it open. He's flushed-faced and breathing hard, like he's been running. Soldiers, he pants. Marco ran down. They tore apart the fair and they're headed this way. My heartbeat stutters. It's rather clear who in this room they're after. The thought occurs to me that if they are the king's men, and if they are truly after us, and if they are being led by the Duke, this might all be resolved by giving them the box. No, there seems to be equal odds they'll slit our throats and drop our bodies in the sea, and I'm not risking that. But more than that, alchemy and panaceas and cure-alls are knocking around in my mind. If there's anyone who can help Percy, perhaps even keep him from the asylum, it may be this family and their mad little box. And I'm not handing that over. We can't give it to them, I blurt out. Felicity and Percy both look to me. So do the grandmothers, Ernesto wearing an expression that conveys this was such an obvious statement it's redundant. They might kill us for stealing it, I say quickly. And if it doesn't belong to the king and it contains something that could be dangerous in the wrong hands, I think we should wait. We'll hide you, Pascal says. Outside the cabin, I can hear the guard's boots slapping the dock. Come out now, a familiar voice yells. The Duke is definitely here. All of you, empty the boats. I think Monty's right, Percy says. We don't give them the box. I turn to Felicity, who looks as though she thoroughly disagrees, but throws up her hands in surrender. Fine. Neither Ernesto nor Ava seems particularly troubled by the hordes of soldiers boarding the boat, which is good, because I'm short on a plan but have an abundance of panic. The King's Guard boards our boat. I can hear their shouted instructions through the walls, and the floor pitches each time one of them climbs aboard. Pascal is out on the deck attempting reason, but it doesn't sound like they're particularly keen on hearing it. The word fugitives gets tossed around a few times, and harbouring, which I have a strong sense is not in reference to the boats. I pray they'll bypass the cabin altogether and we won't have to test our disguise. But then I hear the stairs creak, and a moment later the door is tossed open. You are instructed to disembark. The Duke of Bourbon strides in, decked in livery of the King's Guard, with a rapier at his side that looks like it could do a fair amount of damage if swung about. He's distinctly more ruffled looking than he was when I saw him at the palace, his nose burnt by days in the sun and his head unwigged. His hair is a short, coarse grey that curls in the back. Apologies, gentlemen. Pascal darts through the soldiers to Bourbon's side, but these women are not permitted to go onto the deck. Zoons, it is beastly hot under this veil. The air is smoky with the incense Ernesto lit, making it hard to see and harder to breathe. And the clothes we stripped off the bed were not meant to double as skirts. The fabric is slick, and I've got one hand on my back like I'm a hunched over old woman, when really I'm just trying to keep the damn rug swathed around my waist from becoming both indecent and incriminating. Why? Bourbon taps his foot in the direction of Felicity, who's wrapped up in what a few moments ago was a wall hanging and has a cushion cover over her head like a veil. Woman, show us your face. They cannot, senor, Pascal says. We will hear no protestations, Bourbon snaps. She will show me her face or be made to. They all will. They cannot, because they are poxed, Pascal cries. Bourbon, who had been reaching for the edge of the cushion cover, currently doubling as Felicity's veil, draws back. Poxed. Beside me, Percy, similarly swathed in bed trimmings, sways on his feet, though I'm not certain if he's play acting or sincerely faint. I want to reach out to him, but I'm afraid of drawing the Duke's eye and exposing my distinctly mannish and unpoxed hands. A strain from the Portuguese seas, Pascal goes on. We have quarantined them for the safety of the city. So long as they keep their faces covered and the scabs unexposed, there is no danger. Percy's definitely falling. He reaches out for me and I grab him, trying to keep him on his feet. The swaddling over my head starts to slip. The Duke turns in our direction, but on the other side of the cabin, Ernesta lets out a high-pitched wail and he whirls around. She seems to be really going for the theatrics, for she falls to her knees before Bourbon and clutches his boots, which successfully diverts his attention from Percy's sincere collapse. Ava follows her lead, face pressed to the ground as she pleads to him in keening Catalan. Bourbon shakes them off, then signals to his men. They're tripping over themselves in their haste to get back into the open air. In the doorway, we hear him say to Pascal, "You Spaniards are to be cleared out of here by tomorrow morning, or you'll be arrested. We will not have you cluttering up the river with your filth. And if we find you hiding these criminals, the punishment will be severe." Pascal bows his head. "Yes, sir. We want no trouble." As soon as they're gone, Felicity is at Percy's other elbow, and together we help him to the bed. He sits down hard on the bare mattress, then slumps onto his side and pulls his legs up to his chest. "Are you well?" Felicity asks, then asks again when he doesn't respond. And for a cold, clenched up moment, I think he's going to have another fit, and I almost take a step back. I'm not certain I'm stout enough to witness it again. But he's nodding, though he's breathing hard. Yes, just faint. I'm ready to strip this damn dress off as soon as the king's men have gone, but no one else moves to do the same, so I suffer and sweat a while longer. When Pascal returns to tell us the soldiers have gone, I whip the veil off my face and take a gasping breath that's mostly incense and immediately start to cough. Felicity slides off her headpiece and crumples it between her hands, shoulders quavering. "I'm so sorry," she's saying to Pascal. "I'm so sorry, your fair, your whole company. Because of us, we're so sorry." And Pascal is trying to reassure her, though he looks pained. Someone puts a hand on my arm, and I look around to find Ava standing beside me. "Vosaltres passeo la nit amb nosaltres. Nosaltres farem la nostra pel matí." "You stay the night with us," Ernesta translates. "We go our own ways in the morning." The grandmothers and Pascal go with some of the others from their company to clean up the mess of the fair. Felicity offers to help, but they decline in case any of Bourbon's men spot us. It hadn't occurred to me to ask. They return at dusk, and we have supper on the boat, the 5 of us on the deck while Percy sleeps in the cabin. He's still ill and unsteady, and I'm starting to wonder how we're going to move on if he can't stand straight. Maybe we should stay in Marseille and find Lockwood and forget all this nonsense after all. Some people from the other boats come join us, and we eat gathered around the iron stove at the prow. The lantern light pebbled through the line of canal boats glitters on the water, reflections the colour of a daffodil cone bobbing amid the waves. After supper, Felicity excuses herself to see to Percy, leaving me sitting like a boulder displacing a stream in the midst of all these people who speak a language I don't understand and live a life I understand even less. After a time, Ernesta comes and sits beside me. Her joints crack as she moves. "Would you like me to read for you?" I don't understand what she's asking until she slides a deck of tarot cards from a velvet bag slung at her hip. I almost laugh. Don't take this wrong, I say, but I think all that tarot, tea leaves, what have you, is nonsense. She shuffles the cards, and they make a sound like wind slithering through tall grass. That does not answer my question. She holds out the deck, and it feels like an invitation I can't turn away. The calling card of a traveller far from home. Against my better judgment, I take the deck. Shuffle, she instructs, and I do, with significantly less grace than she, then return them. She fans the cards on the ground between us. Choose your first. I make a show of letting my fingers walk over the cards like they're a pathway. To my great surprise, a warm hum quavers in my fingertips, and I stop, without quite knowing why, and touch one. 5 cards, she prompts, and I select the rest of my set. Anesta eases them ahead of the others. The first is a representation of you, she explains as she flips it. The King of Cups, emotional balance, stability, and generosity. That sounds quite good until she pins on, but as you've drawn it upside down, you are the inverse. Emotional and volatile, a man whose heart rules his life. Confusion in love and relationships, a lack of control and balance. Which is less good. She flips the second card, which is thankfully right side up, so there's no chance of her pulling that bait and switch again. The 4 of Cups, she says, a dissatisfaction with life. She turns the next and clicks her tongue. So many cups. What does that mean? I ask, a bit more anxious than I mean to sound. Cups are the suit of passion and love, the heart suit. Here, the 8 of Cups means leaving things behind, the heavy things that cling to us and weigh us down, but we grow accustomed to familiar weights and cannot let them go. Anesta turns the next card over. The lantern light jumps, glancing off the sketch of a skeletal head upside down. Death reversed, she says. In spite of not believing in any of this, I've gotten rather wrapped up in it. And seeing that staring back at me is downright spooky. Does that mean you're not going to die? She says, like she read my mind. Though I suppose it's a common question where the spectre is flipped. Death reversed is a transformation, a new life, or a new view on the one you have. She peels my last card from the deck without looking at it and sets it so it overlaps with the King of Cups. The King of Wands. The 2 drawings seem to look at each other, their eyes turned inward. She doesn't explain the second king, just stares at the pair with a scrutiny that deepens the wrinkles in her forehead. In the East, she says after a time, her gaze still downcast, there is a tradition known as kintsukuroi. It is the practice of mending broken ceramic pottery using lacquer dusted with gold and silver and other precious metals. It is meant to symbolize that things can be more beautiful for having been broken. Why are you telling me this? I ask. At last she looks up at me. Her irises are polished obsidian in the moonlight. Because I want you to know, she says, that there is life after survival. I don't know what to say to that. My throat feels suddenly swollen, so I simply nod. Ernesta gathers up her cards and leaves me alone to mull the reading, while I drink some sharp-edged spirits Pascal gave me. That's so acidic it's likely meant to be medicinal. I tip my head back against the railing and look up at the stars. A firefly drifts from the bank of the river and lands on my knee, throbbing golden like it fell from the sky. Someone sits beside me, and when I look over, there's Percy, his shoulder right up against mine. He pulls his knees up to his chest, a little stiff, like he's still hurting, then glances over at me with his chin tucked. His lashes cast spiderwebs upon his cheeks. "How are you feeling?" I ask, before the silence has a chance to turn uncomfortable or I say something infinitely stupider. One of his hands strays absently to the spot on his arm where the flame went in for the bloodletting. Better. Good. That's good. My own hand slips into my pocket and closes around the alchemical puzzle box. The dials shuffle beneath my fingertips. "I don't want to fight with you." He looks over at me. "I don't want you to fight with me either." I laugh, a short, sincere burst that catches even me off guard, and the moment feels so adjacent to ordinary that I loosen. Or maybe that's the spirits, though I haven't had much. I hold the bottle out to him. "Do you want a drink?" He shakes his head. I take another swallow for courage, but all I can think of is, Percy is ill. Percy is going to an asylum at the end of this tour, and he didn't trust you enough to tell you so. "I think we should go to Barcelona," I say, before I'd really thought it out. "You want to return the box?" "Well, yes, but I was thinking about what Felicity said, and the grandmothers about Mateo Robles. If he does work with alchemy and healing and whatever that other word was, panacea. Yes, that. He's there before I have to explain the rest of my reasoning. I've tried alchemical treatments before. What if this is different? He may be able to cure you. I think it's daft not to try, at least. Monty, I've been promised so many cures by so many doctors, but if you can find a way to be rid of your illness, you won't have to go to Holland. You can come home with me. We can go back. He scrapes at his bottom lip with his teeth, staring up at the stars. And I can't fathom why he isn't meeting me with an enthusiastic, yes, 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 let's go to Barcelona and find someone who can make me well and keep me from an asylum. I'd rather... He trails off, pressing his thumb into his chin. Please, I say. His strange silence is feeding my desperation. Let me help you, I want to shout at him. I have failed you on this front for years without knowing it, so let me help you now. What do we have to lose? Before he can reply, Felicity slides down on my other side. Her skirts puffed for a moment before they settle on the planking. So, she says, like we're in the middle of a conversation already, tomorrow we begin the search for Lockwood, or at least attempt to secure some sort of lodging. If we can show them a promise from the bank, even if we can't withdraw actual funds, I think we should go to Barcelona, I interrupt. Felicity pivots to face me, executing an eyebrow arch so precise it looks penciled on. Excuse me? Apparently it's very important this box is returned. And how will we travel? We've no supplies and no transport and no money. We could try and get to some of Father's. Felicity is already shaking her head. No, absolutely not. We've nothing to do with this box or the Robleses or any of it. We need to find our company and see that the box is returned to the king. It doesn't belong to the king, I say. Yes, but there's probably a good reason he had it. Perhaps it was given to him. Why give something to him in a box he couldn't open? What sort of bastard does that? He stole the box and we should return it to its owner. And if we return it to Mateo Robles, we'll be rid of it. Get the Duke off our tail. We're no good to him if we haven't got it. Besides, if we find Lockwood now, we'll be made to go home. Perhaps not, she says. You made rather a mess of yourself at Versailles, but if we rejoin him here, he might be so impressed by our resourcefulness and so glad we survived the highwaymen that he'll let you carry on. Which will absolutely not happen if we go gallivanting to Spain alone. That's going to put you on his not list for certain. I hadn't considered that. Bolting naked from the French palace seems like something my father might consider a permanent black mark upon my record. Good news for the goblin. But if Lockwood would consent to let us keep travelling, going home at the end of the allotted year with Versailles as a small side note to an otherwise successful tour would significantly bolster my chances of holding on to my inheritance, as opposed to being sent home because of it. Or at least I could work the, look at the horrors we went through, please don't disinherit me after such an ordeal angle. But travelling for the rest of the year isn't going to do a damn thing for Percy. He'd still be heading off to Holland at the end of it. The man who owns this box is an alchemist, I say. And if he studies the cure-all side of it, like you heard at that lecture, he might know something that could help cure Percy. If we take him his box, maybe we could trade it for that information. Her brow knits, and she looks to Percy. Is that what you want? Percy has this thumb to his mouth, chewing at the pad like he's thinking hard. My heart seizes up a bit, mostly from the frustration that he isn't entirely on my side about this. But then he says, I think Monty's right. We should take the box to Mateo Robles. It belongs to him. I nearly throw my arms around him at those words, but instead I turn to my sister. If you don't want to come, we'd be happy to drop you at the school. Term hasn't started yet. You won't even miss the first day of your social conversation class. She ignores me and instead says to Percy, are you sure this would be a good idea for you? I think it's, I start, but she snaps, I wasn't addressing you, Henry. Then again to Percy, she says, are you well enough to travel? And I feel like an insensitive rake again for not thinking of that from the start. But Percy nods. I'm all right. Felicity sighs so hard her nostrils flare, like his wellness has ruined her plans. Can we all agree that if we can't secure some funds, we shouldn't go? It's already an absurd journey, but to undertake it with nothing is downright foolish. We'll hardly be able to get out of the city unless we have coinage. Agreed, Percy says, then looks at me. I was hoping the question of money might be something we three could collaborate on rather than a condition of our departure, but I nod. Felicity stretches her arms behind her head, then stands. I want you to both know that in spite of the fact that I am going along, I think this is a terrible idea. Don't pretend you aren't interested in all this, I say. Alchemy seems right up your street. Medicine and alchemy are unrelated fields, she says, though she doesn't do a particularly good job of concealing said interest. Fine. Then consider your opinion noted. Fine. She winds her hair into a knot. I'm going to get some sleep before we go. Percy, do you want a hand? No, I think I'll stay out, he says. Good night, then. Let me know if you need anything. As Felicity disappears, picking her way across the narrow deck to the cabin, I look over at Percy again. He's still looking up at the stars, the silvery light from the moon slithering across the water and stitching his skin. In the glow of it, he looks pearled and fine, a boy fashioned from precious stones and the insides of seashells. I think we're doing the right thing, I say, sort of to Percy and sort of to myself. At least we'll know what's in the box, he says with a half smile. Felicity's right about Lockwood, though. If we go to Spain, he'll probably send us packing as soon as we're reunited. But maybe Mateo Robles will have something to help you and you can come home. And maybe he won't. You might be giving up your tour for me. Worth it, that. I scrub my hands through my hair, though I think it's mostly my fault we were being sent home early. So I'm sorry for that. Sorry about the box as well, that I picked it up. Sorry I didn't tell you that I'm ill. I really wish you had. He nods. I take another drink. You're my best mate, Monty, he says suddenly. And I don't want to ruin that, especially not now. I didn't tell you I was ill because I didn't want to scare you away. And if I didn't have you, if I hadn't had you for these past few years, I think I'd have lost my mind. So if things can't be the same between us, can they at least not be terrible? You're not permitted to be strange and uncomfortable around me now. So long as you don't go falling in love with me. I don't know why I say it. Call it battlements around my helpless heart. Percy looks away from me fast, shoulders curling up. It almost looks like a flinch. But then he says, I'll try my best. It seems like he wants to touch me, but we've both lost any sense of how men who haven't kissed each other do that. He finally taps my knee, open-palmed and short, the way we used to try and hold our hands to candle flames without being burned when we were boys. And I wonder if there will ever again be a day when it doesn't feel as though he might fly to pieces between my hands. We part ways with Pascal and the grandmothers the next morning as the sun rises. Their fare has disappeared from the pier, and the first of the boats have already kicked off from their moorings and are drifting up the river, a flock of coloured swans riding the current. Percy, Felicity, and I wander the city, searching for the French partner institution to the Bank of England. It's hardly morning, but the sun is already beginning to cook the stones. The heat rises from them in shimmering waves. Shops have their signs flipped and their fronts open onto the pavement, displays of produce and flowers and tailored clothes spreading out. A sharp gunpowder smell rolls from the blacksmith shop, along with the bell clang of the hammer. A shoeblack with a stained rag stuffed into his breeches and a ball of sticky polish rolling between his palms wolf whistles at Felicity from his perch on a coffeehouse stoop. I extend a tasteful finger to him as we pass. We find the bank on the high street. It's a classical building with a marbled interior and rows of wooden barred windows lining the perimeter, a winged clerk behind each. The sounds of red heels and brass-tipped canes click like dice against the stone. If we don't act soon, they're going to think we're scouting the place for a robbery, Felicity says after we've spent half an hour in the lobby, doing what can only be termed lurking. We could tell them the truth, Percy suggests. Yes, but we've only got one chance, she replies, and the truth is a bit too preposterous to be convincing. Alchemical puzzle boxes and all that. I'm hardly listening to them. I've spent most of the while we've been loitering watching the clerk at the window nearest to the door, and after close scrutiny of his last few interactions, I'm fairly certain he and I have a big thing in common. When you are a lad who enjoys getting other lads in bed, you have to develop a rather fastidious sense for who plays the same instrument, or there's a chance you'll find yourself at the business end of a hangman's knot. And if this fellow and I had met at a bar, I would have already bought him a drink and put his fingers in my mouth. It's a great risk. I'm not so much jumping to a conclusion as vaulting haphazardly to it, but somehow I know. Stay here, I say. What are you doing? Felicity hisses at me as I start across the lobby. Helping. I check myself in one of the mirrors lining the hall, ruffle my hair for good measure, then stride from the atrium and straight up to the man's window. Not even a man, he's just a boy, apprenticeship age, even younger than me. He looks up when I approach, and I give him a big eyeful of the dimples that have launched 1,000 ships. Bonjour. Parlez-vous anglais? Oui, he replies. May I help you? I've a bit of an unorthodox query. I let out a shy laugh, flit my eyes down to the floor, then back to him through my lashes. His neck goes a little red. Fan-bloody-tastic. You see, I'm touring. I'd assumed. Oh, am I so obvious? Oh, well, the English. Of course. I laugh again. The English. God, I'm so awful at French. I can only say about 3 things. When is supper? Can you help me? And you have lovely eyes. Tes yeux sont magnifiques. Was that right? Very well done. Is the last one to impress all the French girls? Well, I was saying it to you just then. Now, quite something. I gave him a moment of intense eye contact with my head tipped a little to the side. The corners of his mouth turn up and he shuffles the papers in front of him. You had a question? Oh, yes. Sorry, your shy smile, telling pause, distracting. Now he's really blushing. Poor sweet thing, I think, as I lean forward on the counter and he looks very directly at my lips. Wait until you fall for the boy who can't love you back. So I'm on my tour and, sorry, it's so queer. On the way down from Paris, we were robbed. Good heavens. Yes, it was rather harrowing. We didn't have much on us, thank God, but they took all the letters of credit my father sent with me. I know this is his bank, but I haven't got the actual papers. He gets ahead of me a moment before I explain it. You want to make a withdrawal against your father's name without a letter of credit? I told you it was an unorthodox question. I was expecting much worse. He cracks a shy smile. I thought you were going to ask me to dinner. I still might, though you'd have to pay. He laughs and I bring the dimples out to play again. I'm sorry, but I don't... I know that as soon as the word no makes its appearance, I will have lost irreclaimable ground. So, in what can only be described as a Hannibalistic maneuver, I cut him off at the pass. I'll give you my father's name and his address in England. He should be in your ledgers, but if there's a problem, you can write to him and he'll send the funds, I know it. I'm so sorry, but I'm in such a tight spot and I'm a long way from home and it'll take months before my parents can send any money and I've nowhere to go. I hardly even speak French. I pitch my voice a little, not quite pathetic, but sympathetic, and his whole face melts like butter. I am not good at much, but what I do well. Sorry, this all sounds strange. No, he says quickly. I'm so sorry you're having a hard time. I run my thumb along my bottom lip. I've been standing in the lobby for the last half of an hour trying to get up my courage to come in and ask. I was so afraid I'd be turned down. Honestly, I came to you because you look the nicest. I mean, the kindest. I mean, not that you're not. You're very nice looking. I promise I'm not a scoundrel. I just don't know what else there is to be done. I've nothing else left. He sucks in his cheeks, then glances down the row of clerks. Give me your father's name and address, he says quietly. I can't give you much, but I'll do what I can. I could have kissed him for that. Were we not in distinctly upright society, I would have. He disappears behind the counter, then returns with a small stack of bills. There was a note with the account, he says as I sign the receipt, then slides a scrap of paper across the counter to me. At the top is written an address, then below it, in a hasty scrawl, we have secured lodging at this location, and, God willing, you will meet us here. Beneath is Lockwood's signature. As sour as I am on our bear leader, it's a relief to know that he survived the highwayman's attack. Not only that, but he's here. We could find him by the afternoon and be back on schedule. Might not even be made to go home if Felicity's theory is correct. Instead, I'm looking at weeks of rough travel with little money and none of the comforts to which I'm accustomed, and an unknown destination waiting for us at the end of it. But also, maybe something that could keep Percy from an asylum. The clerk stamps the receipt, then asks, is everything all right? Fine. I fold the note in half and slide it back across the counter. Could you dispose of that for me, please? I give him another smile, and when he hands me the bills, I let our fingers overlap on purpose. He looks ready to burst with pleasure. How did you do that? Felicity asks as I rejoin them on the other side of the lobby and show off my spoils. Simple, I reply, and flash her my most roguish smile. You have your skills, and I have mine.
Oh, yay. That was wonderful. Cute.
Yay! Yay!
My mum's been in here making hot chocolate and she just remarked, he doesn't seem like a very nice man.
I don't think he's a very nice man.
No. It really is just a Dungeons and Dragons campaign from the Bard's perspective.
Oh, Monty. Oh, Monty, you silly boy.
Sean, I've just seen your hair. It looks fantastic.
Ooh.
Wow. Let me see
Wow.
Sean's hair. Let me see Sean's hair. Oh, Sean! That looks so goddamn cool.
I'm very excited by it. I don't think the purple quite comes across in the orangey light here, but yeah, I'm pretty psyched.
Yeah, it looks absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Ah! Beautiful. So beautiful.
With people in this Storytime group and fantastic hair, it keeps happening.
What brings us all together?
It's just so full of style icons, you know? There's so much inspiration to pull from.
Yes, yes.
Hey, Sean, do you want to start a boy band together?
I mean, I have zero musical talent, but
Most
That would be
boy bands don't.
perfect.
ego, I can do that bit.
That's perfect. That's all you need.
Oh my god! Can I join? Can I join? Can I be the soft one?
Yes.
Yay!
Isn't zero musical talent a requirement for starting a boy band?
Oh, don't say that.
Snap, snap, snap.
We've got some good floppy hair going on. That's also a requirement.
Yeah, we've got lyric.
Frankie, release the curl.
Who's going to be the crazy one who's at least like 5 years older than the other members and has like a cowboy hat and like a pencil like beard?
Oh my god. I don't know. Who?
I thought that was going to be you. You're a crazy facial hair person.
Oh no!
Yeah, pretty much true. Yeah, that is true.
I guess there also needs to be a true and sincere drug habit.
What was that, Sean?
As long as I get to be the rake, I'm like, you guys can fight amongst yourselves. But
that's
the
fine.
rest of it.
I'm the angsty one, so it's all good.
I'll be the like the like preteen favorite. You know, scoring well in the kind of like 8 to 13 demographic. Les enfants, let's say goodbye to the catch-up crew, and then I think I'm going to skedaddle off because I have a sleepover to get to, and also I am a sleepy tired bean, a tired peanut.
A note. I have a note. Just one note.
A note. A note.
Before we go, just very briefly, I realized about a third of the way through that like chapter, I turned to Bracken and was like, "This is a prequel to Chocolat."
Just with all the boats and stuff?
All the boats, all the
Holy shit!
God.
There was a tarot reading.
Yeah.
Whoa. What the perfect crossover before
I'm listening to Chocolat right now, and I did not put that together.
That is so exciting. Well, so it's the perfect book to come before the next one, which is the sequel to Chocolat.
Now stock up on your chocolate ahead of time.
Yeah. Woo. Also, did you know that I think April 3rd is National Chocolate Mousse Day?
Ooh.
So let's have chocolate mousse on April 3rd. How would y'all feel about that?
Pleased.
Yeah, chocolate mousse party. Yeah. Okay. Let's say goodbye to the catch-up crew. May all your tarot readings be unambiguously positive. We love you very much. Bye.
Bye.